Hello and welcome to this edition of Squared Circle Radio, show that is for the fans, by the fans. Thank you guys for joining us. I'm your phenomenal host, Mr. Podcasting Chris Belcher. Joining me as always, of course, is the young buck, Mr. Andy York. And as you guys can tell, if you're watching us on the YouTube video, what are you looking for?
Oh,
a very special guest is with us, Mr. Aaron Grisham, who joined us on our WrestleMania post coverage. Aaron, welcome to the show.
yeah, let it be known that if you simply just troll the comments long enough, people will put you in their podcast.
All that to say, if this is your first time watching us, leave us a comment, leave us some feedback. We would appreciate it. Follow us on social media if you haven't already at SQCircle_radio. And join in on the fun. Subscribe wherever you find your podcast. Andy, it's going to be a fun show. It's going to be a loaded show, man. A lot to talk about.
Yeah, and I'm glad I'm not the only Joe Hendry believer in the group tonight.
Oh, stop it.
Yep, I'm ready for it. So
Hold on. I think someone's at the
I think we should make this a Joe Hendry only podcast, but
I agree. It's so funny. Before we started recording, we're going over like what the topics that we're going to hit on. But actually, Andy and I spoke hours before, and we decided that this is actually an intervention and that you need to believe in Joe Hendry. Clap, clap.
This podcast is off to a riveting start, ladies and gentlemen. If you can't tell, we are having a whole lot of fun. And again, if this is your first time joining us, make sure you subscribe. Join in on the fun with us each and every Tuesday and Thursday, wherever you find your podcast and on our YouTube channel. All right, guys, let's get into it. Andy, one of our biggest fears coming off of WrestleMania was, you said it, we were going to hit the peak and then we were going to go downhill. Well, guess what, Andy? That has not happened. SmackDown was loaded. Monday Night Raw tonight as we're recording, loaded. Man, so much to talk about with everything that is going on. We are not on the downslope whatsoever.
No, we are not. We are continuously going through this new Paul Levesque era, as they have mentioned like 1,000 times every single episode. But we're officially in the middle of it. And everything's going smooth except for, one key injury that really sucks. But we'll talk about that here in a minute. But yeah, we're off and running, and it's been a wild last 3 episodes coming off of WrestleMania, figuring out what they were going to do, and then they just kind of went in a completely different direction, blowing our minds.
Yeah, they continue to just keep us guessing. Aaron, obviously, you watched WrestleMania. You were in the comments with us. You've watched Raw and SmackDown since then. Did you have the same kind of fears that we did, that they would let us down after WrestleMania like they have in so many years past? What was your thoughts been?
I'm going to be honest. I thought that you were going to have almost a hangover when it comes to how amazing WrestleMania was. Like you were going to peak out, and then you're going to watch Raw and you're going to watch SmackDown and every other weekly show, and you're going to think, well, it just doesn't stack up. And you're going to have a lot of people who get reintroduced to the product. Like me, I took a very long break from WWE, and I came back, and I'm watching Raw and SmackDown, and I'm actually pretty impressed at how well they've kept the energy up and the storylines. And I'll give them their flowers. Specifically, we call him Paul Levesque. I call him Papa H.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's really taken this it is the Paul Levesque era, something that we're getting used to, but, at the same time, he's taken it to, I don't know, places that we didn't think possible, like we've just seen it time and time again, how we've been let down by creative and by, what's happened afterwards. And, we get in this slump of people that check out between now and SummerSlam, and then, from Survivor Series and Royal Rumble picks up, and then we get more people, but, we're sticking to it. I mean, we have new titles, we have new challengers, fresh matchups, a new world champion for the first time in 1,300 days.
But who's counting?
Right? So, Andy, let's get into it, man. You predicted last week, I think, when we were talking about who would be the first challengers for Cody. You wanted to see AJ Styles. Well, it turns out that on SmackDown, It's going to be AJ Styles and LA Knight going one-on-one again, but this time to see who challenges Cody. I believe at Backlash. I don't think they've said that yet, but I assume that's it. Andy, it looks like to me, as excited as I am to see LA Knight and AJ Styles go round and around one more time, I think AJ might get the better of him this time.
Oh, absolutely. I think AJ does get the better of him. And we go into a AJ Cody Rhodes feud, probably just to Backlash and then go somewhere else afterwards for Cody. But those two guys, even though they never cross paths in Japan or in Bullet Club, there's still a lot of history with the guys they know and the guys they ran with. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Backlash is when? May
first Saturday in May, I think.
Like
May.
So
I want to say 5th.
We don't have a lot of time between then and now. So there's not going to be much of a story to tell between Cody and AJ, except probably just the Bullet Club background history heading into this matchup.
But Aaron, I think to Andy's point, I don't think there needs to be much of a story between Cody and AJ. You have two of the best in-ring performers of our generation about to lock up for the WWE Championship. Fans like us can only hope that it's not a one-off, that we get another one.
No doubt. My early prediction is it's I think LA Knight wins it. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I'm curious to hear y'all's again because I'm coming from the guy who's coming back into wrestling. I want y'all's observation on this. LA Knight, is he the perfect combo of The Rock and Stone Cold?
I think he's the modern version of it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Would you say he's a blend, or would you say he's a 70-30 blend? Half and half? Is he a half and half kind of guy?
I wouldn't say.
I would say persona more Stone Cold, promo more The Rock.
I guess because we don't have that on-screen authority figure for him to go up against, so it's hard for me to compare him to Stone Cold. I can see with the no frills attitude and the I'm going to do whatever I want kind of thing, and the genuine natural fan reaction works with both Stone Cold and The Rock. Obviously, he leans more towards The Rock, but I still even think that, yeah, maybe he's a modern day version of 1998 Rock, 99 Rock or whatever. I really think he's his own guy, though. I really think he's taken a lot of the Attitude Era, taken a lot of the indie stuff, a lot of the stuff, Andy, that made TNA popular, I think, in this underground setting, taken all of those things and blended them in, and all of his experiences has made him who he is. I know that may sound like a cop-out answer, but I really think he's just LA Knight.
I do think that's fair because, again, I'm over here saying blend, but I mean, he is kind of making it his own thing. That just kind of, maybe it just gives you a little bit of a, reminisce to the Attitude Era, Stone Cold. And
he
Rock.
Feels like he belonged in the Attitude Era. He could have succeeded.
That's actually probably a better way to say. Listen, I love a wrestler that can get the crowd to interact and have those call to action type deals. Again, yeah, that's incredible. It's so simple, but it's so incredible. And I mean, who was the last wrestler that we've had him like? Bryan Danielson?
Yeah, he did the yes
with
chance.
With the yes chance. Is that probably the last big?
I mean, you've had people singing Seth Rollins' theme music and Nakamura's theme music.
Yeah,
and you did Sammy's, and you did the Rusev Day chants. But I think for like an extended amount of time that hasn't, fallen off, hasn't done anything, it's sustained. That's the right word.
And also another thing, it's gotten into the popular culture. I mean, for example, I walk into the office regular Monday, I sit at my desk and I just go LA Knight, and then someone 15 cubicles over just yells, yeah, I mean, and it's not Chris. Not Chris.
Full disclosure for everybody that doesn't know, Aaron and I work together.
We what?
We do. Yes, we work together. Supposedly, we get some work done sometimes. And for those of you watching on YouTube, I am not in my normal setup. Aaron and I are actually in a hotel room in Florida on a work trip. just happens to fall on a podcast night.
This is a work trip. I was sitting at the pool all day today.
That makes two of us, actually. Anyway, Andy, your thoughts on LA Knight?
Oh, I love him. I think starting off with that Bray Wyatt feud could have gone one or two ways of completely just not making people care about him, or maybe the only other person to really survive a Bray Wyatt feud that got even bigger was Daniel Bryan, which we've already kind of drawn similarities kind of between the two of them. So seeing him kind of come out into his own and become, for a while, and probably still for the most part, the biggest babyface on SmackDown, is kind of remarkable to see where he was last year at the Rumble and WrestleMania to this year, to possibly, maybe be a Mr. Money in the Bank this year, maybe main eventing a WrestleMania next year, whatever the case is.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting way to go for LA Knight, because I think it's AJ Styles and Cody Rhodes, simply because I don't think you can put LA Knight up against Cody Rhodes yet, because you don't want that dynamic of two of the most popular wrestlers on the roster going at it when you're trying to build Cody as a champion. With Roman having such a long reign as champion, you got to give Cody Rhodes a win. I don't know that it's a good idea to do it over LA Knight, but nonetheless, they've done crazier things before, Andy. We saw with Seth Rollins, they put him up against, we've talked about it a lot, put him up against Finn Balor and Shinsuke Nakamura on this last run. Previous runs, they put him up against Bray Wyatt. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
But we have a different guy at the helm now. We have a different guy running creative, so we'll have to see kind of what happens. And if you aren't watching on YouTube, we are currently watching Monday Night Raw, and Aaron is yeeting with Pat McAfee and Jey Uso, and yes, all the things. Speaking of Jey Uso, we'll get to that in a second. It was announced that he is going to take on Damian Priest at Backlash. But with the LA Knight and AJ Styles stuff, we had 2 triple threat matches on SmackDown this past week. I was kind of surprised, Andy, that they went back to LA Knight and AJ Styles based on the guys that were in it. I could have seen Kevin Owens and, whoever, Santos and Lashley kind of have their own thing going again with Rey Mysterio. You have the LWO stuff, which we're still not sure about, but Santos gave us a clue in that backstage interview saying that they weren't the ones that attacked Dragon Lee last week. That goes back to your theory of Carlito, but what are the chances it was Andrade?
Well, there's always a chance it's Andrade. I think Andrade works better as a heel than as a babyface. So I think there's always the chance that Zelina and Andrade could be the ones behind it, turning on Rey, putting them back together, and going forward. I think that would be really, really interesting to see that happen. And going back to the other point about them doing AJ Styles and LA Knight, I think that's the only WrestleMania rematch we've really gotten. Like, that's the only one that we're kind of going towards as well. We're not really going towards Drew Seth. We're not going towards Becky Rhea, obviously. Not even Cody Roman as of right now. So that's the only really WrestleMania rematch we're going for.
Andy, question for you. Would you add it? I'm sorry, for those listening, they're not going to understand. For those watching, there's a ghost in the room. The lights just went on and off.
It's the Undertaker.
Yeah, it's the Undertaker. So yeah. We'll get into that later. Andy, question for you. Do you think that they should add a stipulation to an AJ LA Knight match? Obviously we're not putting up a title or anything like that, whatever. But
right.
Like how we talked about how the Usos should have had maybe like a street fight, no disqualification. Brother is no longer brother. Whoever wins, you're taken off of the family will. Whoever wins, or loses rather. What should we get a stipulation for that match?
Yeah, I mean, I would be fine with the stipulation, because I think you want to do something different than what they did at WrestleMania. I mean, even like a steel cage or something like that would be really interesting between the two of them. And I think it would give them a chance to not do the same thing they normally do, but go back into doing something completely different and adding a new element to it as well. And you know, maybe we finally get the OC back together with AJ Styles in this, and they get involved and they cost LA Knight, and we're kind of going forward from there, because I don't know why we're trying to split AJ and the OC together, but I think that would be really interesting.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense either. It seems like every time that Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows are on the roster, they're only used when they're used with AJ. And you split them up and you still have them on the roster and you don't ever use them. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. I think it would be a really easy way to get them back together. Let's talk about, man, the other big thing that happened on SmackDown. Oh my goodness. We wondered what direction the Bloodline would go after WrestleMania. There was a lot of speculation that Solo was going to get pushed. I don't know how many of us actually predicted that Solo would take on the role that he's taken on with the debut of Tama Tonga, scaring Paul Heyman out of his mind, crushing the cell phone as he was trying to call Roman Reigns. Solo Sikoa has snapped, Andy. Snapped.
It's about time, man. Like, this is, we need a enforcer of the Bloodline, Solo Sikoa back, who, you know, literally murdered John Cena on TV and then did nothing afterwards with it. I think finally doing something with him. However, they're pointing a lot to him being the new quote unquote tribal chief, because you had the whole backstage segment where Tama Tonga said, on the orders of the tribal chief. I think we're heading towards Survivor Series. I think we're heading towards a War Games match. I think we're getting Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, Solo, and The Rock versus Roman, the Usos, and you can find another one to throw him in there somewhere. I don't know who the other one would be. Maybe Sammy. Like, you could bring Sammy back as the honorary Uso.
I was going to say it's going to be babyface Bloodline versus heel Bloodline.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Sammy would make the most sense if you're going to go off previous members of the Bloodline. I was also going to bring up, are we sure it was Solo giving the orders as the tribal chief? We don't know. I mean, he just said it's the tribal chief. They didn't say Solo. It could be them planting the seeds for it being Rock.
I agree with that. I think definitely. Yeah, they didn't say it. It makes sense either way, though. Makes sense either way.
Maybe we're just not thinking hard enough. Maybe it's Rikishi.
I was going to bring up Rikishi.
He was tweeting some stuff out about it too.
I was gonna say Rikishi was tweeting some heat the other night.
Yeah, he was.
What if Rikishi is somewhere in here?
I'm not got involved in this stupid story. Where has he been at the whole time?
We've been waiting on him for 4 stinking years.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to say that he's going to wrestle in a War Games match, but I do think there's a good shot that he's behind some of it. I mean, he's got 1, 2, 3 sons in this thing,
and he's clearly picked a side based off of his tweets.
Right. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's
the one
really,
that
really
like him, so that's why he's going with him.
Oh, that's true. That's a good point. But man, just some wild stuff. I'm anxious to see how they get Roman and Rock involved in this and where they stand in all of it. Because Andy, I think you're right. I think we're headed towards a Bloodline War Games, which is incredible. Probably headed towards Rock versus Solo, or Roman versus Solo before that. Maybe at SummerSlam if Roman comes back before then. I don't know.
Maybe.
So you would do Roman Solo at SummerSlam and Rock Cody at SummerSlam, maybe?
See, I was thinking Rock Cody at SummerSlam. I still think the marquee match for Roman at SummerSlam is Seth. I think you do Seth Roman still there. I think you could. I think there is a world where you could, or they're going to try. Roman's going to think he's still in charge and is going to come back and still be like, well, Solo thought that's what I would have done. Like something like that. And then probably at SummerSlam or whatever the case is, then it's fully aligned that The Rock is the new tribal chief. The Rock is the guy in charge. And then, you know, they're both going to go off, do their own thing for another 6 months and then come back for Survivor Series and then run into. So you could probably do Roman Solo at Rumble even. That's a good way to keep him out of the Rumble match and do Roman Solo there.
That's true. And then Rock and Roman at WrestleMania. Because you don't want to have Rock
You don't want
too much
rush.
longer.
Yeah, you don't.
No.
I mean, if you look at making a tier list of what your pay-per-views are, I mean, you don't put Rock at SummerSlam when you could put Rock at WrestleMania.
Unless you have him for both.
I don't think you does.
Because SummerSlam's number 2. Well, I guess you could argue Rumble's number 2.
Well, I think they may do it at Crown Jewel more than they'll do it at SummerSlam because that Saudi money talks.
Yeah, I know.
It's very valid.
Yeah, I know. I don't necessarily like
And
that,
I mean, if you think about it, the Saudi show's in June?
There's one in May, and there's probably going to be one in. They don't do it like September, October.
So if you do it in if you do the one in May, then that still gives him almost a year to get ready for the Rumble. If you do Rock Cody at the one in May, then you got almost a year till the Rumble or till Mania to do Roman Rock again.
Yeah, I guess my point was you don't want Rock to go too long and still bank on him having matches. You got to get.
That's what happened to him last time, and he blew everything out.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like you want to keep him fresh, keep him going because like I said, I think a couple of weeks ago, you train, you have a match, then you don't do it for a while. Then you have to ramp up that train, and then do it again. No, just keep it repetitive. Keep him in the same workout regimen. That way, maybe less chance of him injuring himself. So lots of stuff happening on SmackDown. Lots of stuff to keep our eyes on. Let's transition to some stuff that's on Monday Night Raw tonight. But before we do, Aaron has a question.
It does match with pun intended Monday Night Raw.
Okay. Yes.
Is it just me, or does it seem really odd to have Men's Warehouse sponsor matches?
Oh, they've been talking about it all night. Apparently, that's where Michael Cole has always gotten all of his suits. Is their tailor-made specialty suits from Men's Warehouse?
They don't fit them, so I can guarantee you that is Men's Warehouse. If anyone out there, if you were able to find a single Men's Warehouse that's ever made a tailor-made suit that actually fits you, please reach out because it's a thing that does not exist. But what I was saying, Men's Warehouse sponsoring wrestling matches for dudes in tights. Like I can't get any of these outfits at Men's Warehouse at all.
Accurate.
Just a light segue into the actual segment. So carry on. I say this is why this will be my one and only time allowed on the podcast, and I will be banned back to the comments where I belong because these are the observations I make.
And if you're like Aaron Grisham and you like to live in the comments, live in our comments. We would appreciate it very much. Leave us some feedback. We would appreciate it. If you're on the YouTube video, that right there, the thumbs up button, that really helps the show. And do us another favor, subscribe on the YouTube channel. Why? Because it's free. Doesn't cost you a thing. We're not going to send you an email. We're not going to do any of that. We are just asking for you to hit the subscribe button. It helps out a whole lot. We would appreciate it. You got to stop that. If you're not watching Aaron's ridiculousness on YouTube, what in the world are you waiting for? Let's get into Monday Night Raw. Lots of wild things. Andy, rumors started ramping up earlier today that Rhea Ripley was going to vacate the Women's World Championship, and it happened. And I texted you, and I thought about it. I was like, this has to be a work. This is not real. Andy, you're on the real train. Like, I mean, it looked pretty real going back and watching it. What are your thoughts?
Well, I don't know why they would have a year-long reign just end by being giving it up. Like, I think that, to me, if this is a work, then this is a really dumb work because she should not give up the title because it still doesn't make sense, even though Roman was champion for 3 years, only had like 31 defenses or something like that, was never there for a long time either.
I don't mean that she can't defend it, so she has to give it up.
Right.
My thought in her giving it up was that so nobody beats her, we get a couple other ladies some opportunity. Rhea can take some time off. If the Judgment Day is going to disband at some point, it's a perfect way to get her away from it without her losing any momentum. And then she comes back as a babyface. I don't know. Just my thought.
It seems like we're taking 5 steps backwards after this year-long reign that she's had. So that's why I think it's not a work. Plus, if you look at the spot last week where she got thrown into the wall, her arm was pretty much like dangling off her shoulder. So it looked pretty legit. But again, like, I know we don't want to keep championships off TV. It seems like we want championships to stay on TV, but it's very hard to justify her having to give up her title after Roman barely defended his over the last year. And because he didn't, I mean, from WrestleMania last year, the first time he defended it after that was SummerSlam, which is
that is correct.
Several months. So that's just the one thing I'm having a hard time justifying is.
It just depends, man. Like, let's just say, for example, that Rhea got the same injury Finn Balor did in 2015 or whatever. If that's the case, she's going to miss 9 months to a year.
Right.
So in this new regime, yes, people are going to have long title reigns, but we're going to have the titles on TV.
Yeah. If it is a 9+ month injury, I mean, just think of the pop that we're going to get for whatever. Yeah. I mean, she's going to have to pop in probably a title defense match, right?
Royal Rumble.
Could be. You think maybe she's an entry and she wins the Royal Rumble to come back for the title and go up at Mania?
Yeah.
I mean, I know we were talking about not, fantasy booking WrestleMania, but here we are fantasy booking WrestleMania.
Peek behind the curtain was going to be a topic for the show tonight. Show's too loaded. We'll get to it next week. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I didn't see the injury. I didn't see the video or anything like that. So I would have to go back and look at it. I trust y'all, but I originally thought that it was a work because of the way that WWE was tweeting out the events, and it was like, oh, it's an attack. I was like, oh, well, this feels like it's a whole marketing plan. Therefore, they've got everything scripted out. Like, here's the tweets, here's the content. Like, for again, they can be able to script these. It's a massive company. They know what they're doing. But again, my initial reaction was seeing some tweets and whatnot, and I'm like, that just feels a little scripted rather than a freak accident that happens on a show. But again, if I go back and look at the video, and yes, her arm is indeed dangling, then I'll be okay. Maybe this is real, and yes, we do need to give up the title and keep it on TV, because I do think, if I can chime in real quick, I think that's one of the things that I hated about the change between when I used to watch it all the time and now. Excuse me. Was we didn't really see title defenses on Raw and SmackDown that much anymore. Or at least meaningful ones. Right. And me growing up as a kid, I was like, I couldn't go up to my mom and say, hey, can you spend, $60 on a pay-per-view to watch WWE? And my mom would be absolutely not. They're cussing. You are 12 years old. You cannot watch them.
Just watch WCW like I did.
Which, shout out, Mom. So yeah, that's one of the things that I was like, yeah, you can be able to turn on Raw, and the heavyweight championship is going to be on the line between Triple H and Batista on just a regular Monday in April, you know? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, all that to say, yes, the championships need to be on TV. The title defenses need to be on TV. It stinks. No one is happy. Yep. We feel bad. For it, but in the end, it's good for the product to have the title vacate. And you know what? Now someone else is going to get the chance to be put over, or we're going to get the chance for them to come back. We were talking about earlier with the glitches and then the subtleties of what's been popping up on shows and hint.
Be a great opportunity for my favorite women's wrestler to come back and rightfully take her place as champion, be a 6-time champion.
Fabulous Moolah?
No, not no, incorrect. No, I think to Aaron's point, as Andy's losing it, I think to Aaron's point about this possibly being a work and tweeting about it all day and stuff, is Andy usually, because this injury happened last Monday, usually there's rumors in the dirt sheets leading up to Raw about some of this, but no, it just started coming out today. So I think Aaron's exactly right. It sort of made it look like It was, okay, we had our production meeting at 2:00. This is going to be the story for the show tonight. And we're going to build this angle. Let's start pumping stuff out now, not, stuff happening all week like we're used to.
Yeah, no, and that was part of it is maybe the whole week they were just trying to figure out how actually severe the injury was. And then
Sure.
they get to tonight and it's, or they've known for the weekend or whatever. It also kind of gave vibes of when Cody tore his pec, because that was the day of the show. Was that the day of Hell in a Cell? The day before? I think
That
it was
he
day
tore
of.
it?
Yeah.
No, he tore it like 3 days before. It came out.
Yeah.
It came out that he tore it, and there was speculation of where the match would happen. It was not till the day of the pay-per-view on the pre-show that WWE started saying, blah, 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 whatever. And then they made up a story as to how he tore it or something.
Yeah. So it kind of gave vibes of that, though, like just a injury that you didn't really know how severe it was. And then all of a sudden Cody takes his jacket off and his whole arm is bright purple. I've got the figure of it like right there, whatever it is.
Jealous.
But but yeah, I don't, if it's a work, I'm not a fan of it because it feels like we're taking 5 steps back. However, I really hate it for her because she was clearly setting the standard of women's wrestling in WWE and was no longer trying to be the top dog in the division, but she was the entire division. And so I kind of hate it for her as a massive setback. But when she comes back, it's going to be a massive pop, and she's going to be the hottest babyface in the company, going crazy and probably winning back her title at Mania.
I will never wish injury on anybody, especially when you're on a hot streak like Rhea was. But Andy, did I not say it like last week or something? That I just felt like there was nothing left for Rhea to do. She's beaten everybody. She's literally gone through everybody. So maybe this injury is some sort of blessing in disguise, a chance to reset, get some other ladies an opportunity. And then when Rhea comes back, like you said, bigger, badder, stronger, better than ever, and can be the biggest baby. No more tweener. Judgment Day can be dissolved or whatever at the point when she comes back. Boom, she's the biggest baby face on the roster, and we can do this whole run all over again.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's part of it. And like you said, we don't want to see anybody ever get injured, but we've seen in the past where an injury has not helped, but it's given them a chance to, when they're not on TV every week, everybody misses them. And so, when they show up, everybody goes wild. So I fully expect that to happen to Rhea when she comes back.
If you guys are watching on YouTube, we're all looking off screen. We're distracted by this long camera shot that they're doing.
What are your thoughts on the long camera shots that they do?
Go ahead.
Who was the dude that used to
Kevin Dunn, Beavertooth.
Yes. Shout out him never being anywhere near a production truck ever again.
Amen.
I mean, this is incredible. This is like, you're sitting here like, okay, where is he going? What's going on? Okay, they're both looking.
We're watching Jey Uso has just now met up with Sami Zayn.
And they're both looking up at something. All right, predictions real quick. What are they looking at?
I think they're looking at the marquee, and I think Sammy's on the marquee because they're in Montreal. I don't know for sure.
I'll go with that.
We don't have the sound on, so we can't really hear. They're talking about something. And now they're going to continue the camera angle, and Sammy's going to walk all the way in. Man,
from the crowd.
Look at this production. Just look at this production right here.
And it's so simple.
This is insane.
It is.
It's so simple, and it's just incredible how they didn't own this. I mean, he is grabbing a. Sami Zayn is anti-recycling. He just tossed a can. Sami is anti-earth, and now he's going around and just smacking every person that's in the. I thought that was that's a luchador that's in the console.
I thought that was a Generico mask.
Yeah,
but it was not.
And here he goes. We're getting some Shield-esque coming out of the.
This is insane.
This is incredible.
I love how
his entrance at WrestleMania when they did the whole follow through to the back with him and Kevin, and then the next night they did it with Kevin meeting with him.
And
you're absolutely right. How have we not done this before?
I thought it was
because-
awesome. I thought it was awesome that KO acknowledged it on SmackDown.
Yeah.
As
He's like, we've been doing these cool one shots. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
He also pushed the CM Punk shirt off the table, which was hilarious.
That was so funny.
I would listen. So I'm glad that we're talking about this right now. So
Real time reaction to Monday Night Raw, ladies and gentlemen.
So one of the things that has come up from these new camera angles, obviously is and you brought up WrestleMania where they're walking through Gorilla, through the tent, and out to the ring. When I saw that, I go, you know what I would love to see, what I would love for WWE to come out with, and I know they'll never do it, but it would be really cool. Give me like a behind the scenes 30 minutes of just unfiltered, raw Gorilla footage. Like I want to hear Triple H, I want to hear the producers, giving out times, going over last things in terms of what you need to know before going out of the ring. Like me coming from a production background, you as well, I would love to see those conversations, those moments. I mean, make it a pay-per-view. I would buy that.
we've seen.
What if sorry to cut you off, but what if they did something like, how ESPN has like a secondary telecast where they have like people
the Pat
McAfee. What if we had a secondary where we had like a live, no sound, because obviously they probably don't want us to hear anything, but I can have like a picture within a picture where I can see Triple H just eviscerating a wrestler for not meeting time.
I think your idea is spot on. I'm gonna say this. I would want to see that footage when Vince was there.
That's true, because the only footage that I was able to find, besides the Vince coming out of the curtain and saying we need a doctor or whatever for when Undertaker got hurt, is the famous clip of Brock throwing the
title at him.
Like that's incredible. That's incredible television that we're not getting to see. You could even make it to like, why has WWE not done a Hard Knocks? Like, you have Tough Enough. Yeah. You had an opportunity to do something like Hard Knocks.
There is audio out there of Michael Cole being very upset with Vince McMahon for having to say the same stupid things over and over and over again on the same show. Yes. And then there's a moment where he pauses and you can tell he is being reamed out, and he goes, "Yes, sir," and just leans back in his chair. Yep. Moments like that are great. Yeah.
That's fascinating. All right. That was a little rabbit hole that we went down. That was a great rabbit hole, and the ghost is back.
And the Undertaker just showed back up.
There's Take.
Yeah.
Couple other things from Raw real quick, and then we'll hit some AEW stuff and get out of here. Appreciate you guys joining us. Again, if you are listening to us on podcast format, make sure you're subscribed wherever you find your podcast. If you're on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel. We would appreciate it. New tag team titles, Andy. It's been rumored for a long time. We finally got them tonight. A design very much like the Women's Championship and the World Heavyweight Championship on Monday Night Raw. I assume we'll get something similar on SmackDown to Cody's Championship. What are your thoughts on that? What can they do differently for the SmackDown tag titles, I guess?
Yeah, I don't know. I like the name. I like that we're back to the World Tag Team Champions. I like that a lot.
Yes.
The belt is just fine. It's better than the Raw. It's better than the dime belts that we've had the last however many years.
Anything is better than that. I think those are the worst belts I've ever come up with.
They look horrible. So I like the belts. Like, I like the way they're going with it. I just hate how much they look like the World Heavyweight Championship. Like, I think they could still be different, have the world title in their name, but it looked different, and it's fine because they're the tag titles.
And I looked at, sorry to cut you off, I know you're getting ready to talk. I looked at pictures on WWE Shop because they've already put up the replicas, and they look even more similar to the World Heavyweight title than what we saw on TV. Yeah. Looking at those pictures too.
I'm curious. I may be in the minority, but I actually liked how they had the titles named, where it was Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah, you're in the minority.
I
liked it at first.
Let me give my reasoning though.
Okay.
It's
go
why
ahead.
they call the world. Why do they call the World Series when it's only teams in America and one team in Canada that get to compete?
I don't know why.
Why? Why is it called the World Series? It should literally just be called the MLB Championship or sort of,
Well, they can't call it the America Series or the National Series because they have the American League and the National League.
Sure, but again, that's why I enjoyed the fact that they called it the Raw tag team titles, the SmackDown tag team titles. I don't necessarily have a problem with them calling them, because they would do the world titles and then the WWE title.
tag titles. Yes.
Like it's fine. It's not terrible, but I thought it made a lot of sense when you had a Raw tag team title and a SmackDown tag team title.
It made it a lot easier to differentiate.
Sure.
I completely agree. But I think we're getting to this, the SmackDown contract. We know they're going to USA, Andy, beginning of next year or end of this year, something like that.
I think October of this year.
Yeah, and then in January, we're going to Netflix with Raw, and it might not be on Mondays anymore. So I think some of that has something to do with the name change, as well as for the women's championships. I don't know though. I see it both ways. I really do.
Yeah. For those listening, those watching, you saw me put my finger up in the air because I acknowledge my tribal chief, and that is Netflix. Because when Netflix takes over this entire thing, I mean, my goodness, the television that we are about to get is going to be incredible. I know I'm
breaking news from Monday Night Raw. A new women's world champion will be crowned next Monday on Raw. Also next Monday on Raw, Awesome Truth versus DIY. Sign me up. Please let Gargano and Ciampa win those belts.
I cannot believe they are bringing the Fabulous Moolah back for next Monday.
God.
I mean, that is going to be
Fabulous Moolah versus Bull Nakano for that title right now.
I mean, what are we? Listen,
Bull Nakano said you wanted one more match. Let's go.
If she shows up, she better win it.
She
I'll
looks
be very upset if she
could still fight. If we're going to be completely honest, I would not want to be caught in a dark alley with her, because she would beat the absolute tar out of me.
Yes, she
would. Yeah.
Speaking of beating the absolute tar out of people,
where are we going with this?
Sheamus returned tonight.
Oh, Sheamus did.
Yeah.
By the way, Sheamus
on Monday Night Raw.
Nashvilleian
was on my flight from WrestleMania 39 back to Nashville.
A big Nashville SC supporter. I will not make this into a soccer podcast.
Please don't, because I can't help you with that.
I can't either. Yeah. He also came back with his original theme.
I saw that,
which was fantastic, and the green tights or the green trunks and everything else were back. I will say one thing. I didn't get to watch because we were out at dinner. Again, work trip. We were out at dinner. Some fantastic Greek food, by the way.
Are we allowed to do plugs? I mean, it's
can
free
plug it, for sure.
The Greek island Tavaria.
Yep.
I'm not fluent in Greek, but I am fluent in their food, and it's delicious. So if you find yourself in Fort Lauderdale, specifically Lauderdale by the Sea, which is just an interesting name for a town. It's more of a description than it is a town name. Definitely stumble upon Greek island Tavaria. Delicious lamb.
We both
chops.
have the lamb chops,
and he has a chocolate cake sitting in the fridge right now. Again, we are getting completely. This is what happens when you invite me onto the podcast. We were talking wrestling, a brief moment of soccer, and now we're talking Greek food. So
let's get back.
Let's get back on topic.
Let's get back on the wrestling track, because I just saw, again, we were watching Monday Night Raw in real time. I just saw that Raw is going to be in Columbus next week. Andy, who is from Columbus that could make her return that we know?
Is Alexa
from Fabulous
Columbus?
Moolah?
Alexa
Is she from Columbus?
Is from
I forgot Columbus. She was from Columbus.
I'm just saying.
Again, we need to see where the Fabulous Moolah is from.
Just saying. She's not from Columbus.
Where's she from?
I do not know, but it's not Columbus.
That was going to be your trivia. That was going to be your trivia question for the night.
Failed. All right.
If you know where the Fabulous Moolah is, drop it in the comments.
Even if you don't know, please drop us a comment. We would appreciate it very much. Also, we have gone 40 plus minutes on this podcast, and we have not shouted out our exclusive partners at SportsWire Radio. Make sure you follow Tom and the gang over there. SportsWire Radio, fantastic job keeping you up to date on all your wrestling content, all your sports content, just everything you need 24/7. That is at sportswireradio.org, sports with a Z. Make sure you listen live. And if you are tweeting, make sure you use the hashtag All Wrestling Matters. Speaking of all wrestling that matters, it is time that we talk about the other wrestling promotion, the other national wrestling promotion. As Aaron gets up to leave, he'll be back, ladies and gentlemen, I promise. Andy, let's talk about AEW. Dynasty is this weekend, but we have a much bigger issue to talk about before we talk about Dynasty, Andy, and that is the footage that was released and played this past Wednesday at AEW. Was rumors that it would not be a bait and switch. They were going to play the backstage footage from All In and CM Punk and Jack Perry. Andy, they played it, and I'll let you weigh in first.
So, two things that jumped out
I
immediately.
can't wait for this. Go ahead.
Two things that jumped out immediately. One is I can't believe CM Punk wasn't actually lying on the Ariel podcast because everything he said he approached Jack Perry first, which he did. He said he's the one that got physical first, which he was. And he said I choked him out a little bit, which he did. So like he did all of those things. My thing is, what in the world, other than him getting in Tony's face and yelling at him, made Tony Khan fear for his life in this segment?
I saw a lot of people posting online. This is the truth. And this is why the internet wrestling community infuriates me. A lot of people were posting online and they said, well, this proves why Tony feared for his life. This proves that CM Punk tried to get after him. And I was like, what footage are you watching?
Yeah.
Because Tony Khan is nowhere in the footage that was seen. Not only that, Andy, there was no audio on the footage. So how in the world do we know what was said or why Tony feared for his life?
Yeah.
I don't understand how that video proved what Tony said.
Tony was sitting behind those row of monitors that they fell into, and that Punk kind of pushed over too. So but still, I don't understand what made him fear for his life. However, yes, that was assault. Yes, he did attack a coworker. Yes, should he have been fired after everything else that has happened and that was the final straw? Probably. Why not? He was done with AEW at that point. AEW was done with him at that point. Totally fine. I get that. My favorite thing is that makes Punk's entrance at All In 10 times better, knowing he did that 5 seconds before he walked out in front of that arena. And that smirk on his face as he walks out is just priceless. It is absolutely priceless. I don't understand the point of showing this. FTR's promo after it happened of why are we showing this? We've all moved on from it. I get it. You're trying to make it into a storyline. He's not there, though. So, why are we doing it? Plus, it backfired because they got massive CM Punk chants right at him. So, it made no sense.
And, Aaron, I'll let you weigh in after I make this comment. My other thing, too, Andy, you said, what's the point of it? CM Punk's not there. FTR was not in the video either. Your world champion, Samoa Joe, is in there trying to break it up. But this has nothing to do with a Samoa Joe angle. You haven't involved Joe in this at all. My thing is, if you're trying to bring back Jack Perry, that wouldn't make sense. But it doesn't appear that you're trying to bring back Jack Perry. So why in the world would you show this footage? It makes zero sense.
I think we all share the same viewpoint as to this is silly. But before I ask you guys this question, I would just like the audience to know, in my household, whenever we talk about the other promotion, I say, hey, can I have AEW? And my mom goes, you mean we have WWE back at home? So that's what we think. Anyways,
full disclosure for all of you that are listening, sorry if I'm blowing your cover or I'm ratting you out. Aaron doesn't live with his mom. It's just a fun joke.
No, I do not live with my mom, but shout out, Mom. You've gotten 2 shout outs on this podcast.
Look at that.
Wonderful, sweet baby angel mother. We do not deserve her. So what I wanted to ask you guys is, and I saw a lot of comments referring to this, is this the finger poke of doom for AEW?
I'll let Chris answer first since he's more WCW than anybody else.
Well,
Because I have my idea on it, but
By the way, it's pronounced WCW.
WCW. A lot of people say that WCW was dead before the finger poke of doom,
Fair.
and that the finger poke of doom just pushed it over the edge.
I think WCW was dead as soon as the NWO was introduced, but
That is incorrect.
Oh, okay.
WCW was dead at Starrcade '97, and that is all I'm going to
oh
say.
Lord,
about
here we
that.
go again.
I'm done. I'm done, Andy. I'm done. I'm not going to do it.
If you'd like to check out on a previous episode,
I'm not going to do it.
Radio.
I'm not going to do it, guys. I'm not going to do it. That's his
button. If you ever want to make him mad about wrestling, just bring it up, and he'll.
Got it. Okay, so whenever you mention how I should improve something at work, I'm just going to say Starrcade '96, and you'll just go.
97.
You can say 96 all day long.
I'll
It's
say
97.
Oh,
97.
I thought you said 96.
No, 97.
Okay, 97.
Anyway.
Excuse me, Starrcade '97. Was that Sting and?
It was. Shut up. Okay, here we go.
Shut up.
So I think WCW was dead long before the finger poke of doom. I am not ready to say that AEW was dead before this, but it's just a series of decisions that don't make a lot of sense. Like, Andy, you know me and how justified that I felt Tony Khan was in firing CM Punk when it happened. And I didn't think he would ever do it, and he did it, and I thought the AEW was better off without CM Punk. Now, listening to CM Punk talk about it, getting the approval from one AJ Styles, I tend to lean more toward Punk's side because, again, Andy, he told the truth. Trouble seems to follow him, but he told the truth about this. I think Tony Khan has to stop playing with his wrestling figures and run a business. It's just, and he's not doing it.
Do you think? Real quick, Andy.
Go ahead.
Sorry to cut you off. Do you think Tony Khan is producing a better AEW with his action figures in the back than he is out in real life with a ring? Andy's very silent over there. I have struck a nerve.
I don't know how to answer that.
Listen. If we put a camera in Tony Khan's office and he's got the old classic WWE ring, and he's got little AEW stickers on the side of it, and he's got, Darby Allin jumping off of a miniature ladder through some glass.
Cry me a river.
Here's real glass.
Here's the thing. I will say this too, and then Andy, go jump all in.
There you go. Oh,
this is going to become shocking. I know. AEW actually has better wrestling. The wrestling is better at AEW. The entertainment is better at WWE. But here's the thing. Good wrestling can only get you so far because the story is really the main thing. People, you will not put butts in seats for good wrestling. I'm sorry. It is what it is.
It's true.
So I will give AEW its flowers. They have incredible wrestlers, but they can't. They got a bunch of people who can't cut a promo to save their life. Can't
cut promos, can't tell stories.
No.
And it just seems like, and Andy will let you rebuttal after this. It just seems like all the rumors that are online are true. It's like the creative is week to week. There's no long-term storytelling anymore like there supposedly used to be.
Yeah, I completely agree that the storytelling in AEW is very lackluster. I mean, I can only think of like 1 to 2 stories that were decent to good, and everything else has been either never really followed up on or just kind of done nothing with afterwards as well. However, I do think AEW, I don't think will ever be able to grow their audience until they figure out the entertainment stuff. However, the fan
Totally
base they
agree.
have now, as long as they continue to put on the wrestling matches they're going to put on, the fan base they have now is not going anywhere anytime
That
soon.
is totally true. Absolutely.
And so, I'm the hybrid. I'm the Yeti of the group that, yes, I love WWE and I love AEW at the same time.
How
Both
dare you?
Very different.
How
I know.
dare you?
I know. It's a rumor. It's a rumor that you can't do it, but I'm out here doing it.
Shame on Andy for having free will.
One of
I know,
one,
right?
he is. One of
One
one.
of one.
One of one.
But listen, I completely agree that I think bell to bell AEW in-ring wrestling is more consistent than WWE.
Yes.
I think you can throw a guy like Will Ospreay out into the ring with a broom, and he can find a way to make it very fun and very interesting.
Breaking news: he just got his 1,000th 5-star or
He
5th
did.
star. Are we a believer in star ratings on this podcast?
Not from the man who gives them.
I can believe. I think I made the tweet the other day when it came out that Cody and Roman's match got a 4.75.
4.75. Yeah.
And I said, I quote tweeted it, and I said, if this match took place in the Tokyo Dome and Will Ospreay was the special referee, I bet it gets a 5-star.
They got 7 stars. They got 7 stars. Which is also very funny that the Usos match got 0.75, didn't even get a full star.
That's honestly too many.
That is too many, I think, too.
That match made me want to ban the super kicks.
Amen.
I can't make any comments on what you just said. Go ahead, Andy.
But I do think, I think AEW needs to get their entertainment side up. They need to become more open to the casual audience. However, their whole shtick is they're the alternative. And so they're not for the casual wrestling fan. They're for the diehard Ring of Honor, New Japan fan that now gets to watch them week to week. And if that's your thing, then enjoy it, have fun with it. I do think Tony Khan needs to get more people around him who know what they're doing and know how to not just tell a story, because that's, I mean, you got to give the wrestlers have to be able to tell the story as well. Like, you can only come up with so many stories that the wrestlers can actually tell. So they need to be able to tell their story, but he needs to surround himself with people who can help them, who can tell these stories. Like Scott D'Amore, who just got let go from TNA. Hire him for creative. I think he could tell some fantastic stories with AEW. And, the last year and a half,
Bully Ray has said on Busted
ain't
Open
no
that he
way
would do
Bully
it for
Ray's gonna
free.
go. There ain't
He
no
would
way
do
they're
it
going to
for
hire
free.
Bully Ray. He has buried them too many times. They're not going to hire him.
Well, that's true too.
But I think the injury bug has hurt AEW the last couple of years. Obviously, you start a company in 2019. The pandemic happens right after, and it seemed like an uphill battle from that point on. But it is what it is at this point. Like the Punk stuff happened. That's all they were known for a while. Now Punk's gone. Tony is still very hung up on it in a lot of ways.
Clearly,
and it was not a great look this past Wednesday.
No, it was not. Again, I don't know what they accomplished with it. I don't know what Tony thought he was going to accomplish with it. Like it's almost like they just said, well, Punk, you talked about it. We're going to show it. But again, if you had planned on showing it, why didn't you show it 8 months ago?
Right. I mean, or if he lied about it, then I get showing it. But he didn't lie about it. Like he told word for word what going to happen.
I mean, it just makes you wonder, like, is AEW really down bad for ratings right now? Because I mean, they made a big push of it on social, saying we're going to show the tape, and it's not a bait and switch. Here you go.
And they popped a rating for it.
Right. They did.
But
now it's like, okay, well, now I don't take you guys serious even more.
See, like if it was me, honestly, if I was Tony, I would have come out on TV, just like Vince McMahon did with Bret Hart when he left and he went to WCW and that whole thing happened. He said, basically, he has his story. We have our story. He's moved on. We're going to move on. That's what Tony should have done. He should have just come out and said, listen, Punk did his thing. We're going to do our thing. We're not worried about Punk anymore. And then that just be that.
or just have the Bucks do a parody of it. Like they're heels. If you have them
Yes.
do a parody of it, that would have been hilarious to see them, to see Matt dressed up as Punk and Nick dressed up as Jungle Boy and everything else going on. Like that'd have been great. Honestly, though, my favorite part of the whole brawl is if you just watch Hook the entire time, he doesn't even just move. He doesn't move. He just stands there and looks at everybody like, what are we doing here, guys? What is happening?
Yeah. That's really
I'd
fun.
be in the corner yelling World Star with my phone out.
All right, as we get ready to wrap up this podcast, appreciate you guys joining us. Let's talk about AEW Dynasty for a minute. It is this weekend. Some really interesting matches happening. Andy, I want to get your thoughts on several of these. Samoa Joe defending against Swerve Strickland for the AEW World Championship. Is this finally the night, Andy? You said the last pay-per-view that it was going to be Swerve's moment. It wasn't because of Hangman. Is this Sunday the night where Swerve wins the championship? Does Hangman get involved? What do you see happening here?
My heart says put it on Swerve, but I think we're going to get Hangman returning, costing Swerve again.
Probably.
And we're heading forward to whatever the next show is. I don't even remember what the next show is, but heading on to the next show.
Next is Double or Nothing. Double or Nothing
is one of their big shows. So you could do Page Swerve there again,
and
do another Texas death match, and just let them go out there and drink each other's blood again. But yeah, I really think this it's Joe's time.
Yes.
Let Joe keep that belt for a while. Keep rolling.
That's my take on this match. Is that's not sanitary.
No, it is not. You are correct. Young Bucks and FTR for the tag team titles in a ladder match. Should be match of the night, I would think. Aaron, you put FTR and the Young Bucks in a ladder match. I mean, that has to be match of the night, right?
I mean, if you say ladder match, I'm watching.
Exactly. That's true.
That's my cue to turn it on.
I know it's second. I know, Andy. I know where you're going with that. I know. Will Ospreay,
but it's going to be fantastic.
Will Ospreay and Bryan Danielson has to be match of the night, and if it's not, then they've both done something wrong.
It's already rated 7 stars.
It's already 7 stars.
It can only go up from there.
What is Andy? What is the highest rating Meltzer's ever given? Is it 7.5 or something like that?
I think he gave Okada and Omega 7.5. I think
this one will get 8. It has to.
Possibly.
Yeah, has to get 8.
Because Bryan Danielson's like one of the only WWE wrestlers that got a 5-star, right?
No, his first one came after he left WWE.
There you go.
I think he might have got one, but I think it came after he left.
Just a big old hater of the brand.
You know who else never got a 5-star match?
Who?
Kurt Angle.
No, he has one.
When was his one?
Probably at TNA.
No, it was in WWE. I think it was with. Oh.
Was it the Shawn match?
Possibly.
At 21.
It was either Shawn or Benoit, one of the two.
I feel like it was Shawn at 21. I don't know for sure. Anyway, speaking of Okada, putting the Continental Championship on the line against Pac. You've got Roddy Strong and Kyle O'Reilly for the international title. Willow Nightingale and Julia Hart for the TBS Championship. Thunder Rosa and Toni Storm for the Women's Championship. And then the match that I need to get your take on, Andy, because I still don't understand this team. The House of Black against Mark Briscoe, Eddie Kingston, and Adam Copeland, FKA Edge. Andy, how in the world does Mark Briscoe and Eddie Kingston coexist after their Ring of Honor match or their Ring of Honor Championship match a couple weeks ago and all of this? Like, why is this a team? Please explain this to me.
Well, the easy answer is because they all hate Malachi Black and the House of Black, and that whole he's been targeting all of them. But I think that's just Eddie Kingston's thing, is he doesn't like anybody. So him tagging with anybody is going to be difficult because he just doesn't like anybody at all. So that's just kind of his MO. I don't know if you saw the backstage promo where Edge gave him, or Adam Copeland, Edge, whatever you want to call him, gave him their team name that I don't even remember. It's like the Fried Chicken something. And Mark Briscoe's like, that's the greatest name I've ever heard.
I did not see that.
It's pretty great. Really, but yeah, it'll be wild.
Aaron, any thoughts on any of those matches that we just ran through? I know you feel about AEW about like I do?
Yeah, I'll watch the ladder match, but then it's nap time.
Okay, cool. Great. You heard it here from Aaron Grisham. Just watch the ladder match. No, Andy, overall, the card looks really good. I don't know. Do you have high hopes? I know, again, we always talk about how one pay-per-view needs to live up to the next and, all that kind of stuff. They have a standard. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is going to be another in-ring is going to be really, really good from probably top to bottom of the card. And it's very hard not to say that when you've got Will Ospreay versus Bryan Danielson and you've got Young Bucks and FTR in the same show. Thunder Rosa versus Tony Storm is another one that could be really, really good as well. And then you always have the car crash match that is just chaotic that you can't look away from. And I think that's the House of Black, Adam Copeland, Mark Briscoe, and Eddie Kingston. Because if those 6 guys know how to cause a car crash, it's those 6 guys. And they're going to go out there and completely kill it.
That is very true. Should be quite the interesting match as we get ready to wrap up here on this show tonight. Heel turn, as we called it, at the end of the night. It has happened. Chad Gable has turned heel on Sami Zayn after the Intercontinental Championship match. I knew as we were watching this, when he went over to his family, you could see it coming a mile away. So
why can't Sami win in Montreal?
He did win.
He did win, but I mean, he doesn't go out happy every time, and he doesn't ever.
He's the ultimate underdog. All right, what a fun show. If you guys are digging what we're doing, again, make sure you like the video, subscribe wherever you find your podcast. Make sure you follow us at SQCircle_radio on all social media. We would appreciate it very much. Aaron, appreciate you getting out of the comment section and hopping on the show.
Hey, dreams do come true, ladies and gentlemen.
My gosh. So you just want to be like Josh Pate because he was on the show?
Some would say I'm better than Josh Pate, but I decided to humble myself and stay behind the camera.
Oh, Josh Pate, I hope you're listening.
Love you, Josh.
If not, we'll play it Friday.
That's it. That's it. There you go. You can just play softball with us instead of Josh. You can play left center field.
Hey, I told you I if you guys want, I can bring my drone and we can do some really sweet tracking shots for his home runs. We can make this a full. We can make this a full on production. I mean, I make a couple of phone calls. We bring out a production truck. I could have commentators.
No, we're just talking about you getting on the field and playing.
You want me on the y'all? Do y'all want to lose? I mean, that's no. Let me do what I do best, and that's sit and watch. I mean, this is. Listen. I played 1 year of t-ball. We're gonna share an embarrassing story for the audience before we get out of here.
This is what happens when you stick around. You get these nuggets.
Okay, so I played not even a whole season of t-ball. I think I may have made it 4 games, but the reason we didn't. Me did not make it very far into my illustrious t-ball career was I'm from Memphis. It gets very, very hot, and I am a small little lad, and I was malnourished, and I fainted on the first baseline in front of everyone, just completely blacked out in my Baltimore Orioles jersey. Shout out Orioles. And then I woke up on the bleachers with my mother again. Mom, this is your 4th shout out. Mom giving me a Go-Gurt to bring me back to life. So I think we have 2 product placements in this show today. So we need to give a shout out to Men's Warehouse and Go-Gurt, the unofficial sponsors of Squared Circle Radio.
You can't forget about the Greek food either.
And the Greek food.
The Greek food, that's right.
Because there is a destroyed chocolate cake over on the desk over here, but there is a yet to be touched one in the fridge, I'm assuming.
As soon as we hit
ice cold chocolate cake, there's about to be 2 casualties of chocolate cake. Yes, it's about to go down. And on that note, this is probably my last appearance on Squared Circle Radio. So everyone who enjoyed it, make sure you can I do the outro? Make sure you do give a like, subscribe, leave a review, send a letter if you're into that kind of stuff. We'll drop the PO box. We're not going to drop the PO box. We'll drop the PO box in the description. You can send gifts, letters, wedding invitations,
Gifts with a T also.
gifts with a T. What
GIF. You said
did I say GIF?
You
like
said-
like an animation? Like
yes.
Yeah.
Well, I never said I was a notable speaker. I am slightly illiterate, but here we are.
You are from Memphis.
That's
Andy, I don't think he gets any better than that. Anything else to add, man?
listen. The thing that we have in common, boys, is Calipari left both of us. Okay, so
He did.
He did. At
Some
least
wanted
hopefully
it,
ours is not left in shambles. We'll see.
well, for another episode.
We just hope and hope. That's all.
Yep. Hope and Pope.
I was honestly impressed that you guys sold out Rupp
That was beautiful.
for.
Turned away 5,000 people.
Well, I saw the video and the first thing I said was, "Wow, I did not know Kentucky had a CGI budget because there's no way that they sold out Rupp for a head coach introductory press conference." But you know what? Kudos to what are y'all called? Big Blue Nation,
That's it.
Yep.
Yes.
BBN.
I think we also, when we talk about greatest entrances of all time, Mark Pope's entrance has to be up there with The Undertaker and Triple H and
Listen,
all the other
Undertaker
ones.
has tried to make several appearances on the podcast tonight. If you're watching
Listen.
on YouTube, you saw the lights flicker. All we were missing was a gong.
Because I'm wearing the shirt. That's what it is. I'm wearing the Undertaker shirt.
and I'm wearing black. I mean, we got the brand is strong for Taker.
Andy, we need to get out of this podcast before we
This
get in
is
trouble.
great. No, this is great.
This is
I love it.
fantastic.
We can go for another hour.
Oh my gosh. Well, then you can come to Fort Lauderdale and produce a show that we have to produce tomorrow.
Oh no.
Yeah, if you know, I don't know when does this episode drop?
When we wake up in the morning.
When we wake up in the morning?
Yes.
So like in 3 hours?
Yes.
Okay. Well, when you watch this, make sure you tune into the 24/7 Sports YouTube channel and watch the Transfer Portal Palooza.
And if you don't catch it live, you can watch it on replay.
Please
Like the video, subscribe to the channel.
help keep the lights on, or the Undertaker is going to turn them off.
Or Fabulous Moolah. One of the two of them's coming out.
Oh Lord, we are off the rails, ladies and gentlemen. Aaron Grisham has been our special guest. We appreciate him being on it. For Mr. Andy York, my name's Chris Belcher. This is Squared Circle Radio. If we haven't run you off yet, please make sure that you are subscribed and tune back in next Tuesday. We will catch you guys down the road.
Yeet.